Drama on a Tarte trip that hasn't even really started yet? Yeah, unfortunately, there's some drama going on, and they barely had time to breathe from the last trip that was literally last weekend in Turks and Caicos. But clearly, Tarte is trying to really get their brand name out there this spring, and they have a trip to Miami set for this weekend. Actually, it's starting literally today, where they're taking groups of influencers to Formula One in Miami. If you're unaware, Formula One is a huge deal, and tickets to this event go up for thousands of dollars. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, with Friday being practice sessions, Saturday is a qualifier, and Sunday is the Grand Prix. From what I understand, Tarte was flying out the influencers, and each of them would be able to attend one day of Formula One, either the Friday, Saturday, or the Sunday, whichever they were scheduled for. I guess not everybody knew that, and Tarte was also not under the impression that each day was different, because now there's some drama with one influencer feeling excluded after finding out that she would be attending the Friday event and not the Sunday like some of her friends. Bria Jones posted in a now deleted TikTok that she was upset and was no longer going to be on this trip because she didn't want to go anymore because she felt like she was being excluded.
So I was supposed to be going on a Tarte trip, and I was going to be leaving tomorrow to go to Formula One in Miami, and I decided that I'm not going to go. I've just been really upset today because even before I'm getting to this trip, I'm realizing that I'm not going to be treated like everyone else there. I would love to go on a Tarte trip, and trust me, I'm so grateful, but I have more integrity than to get all the way to Miami and realize that I'm being treated like a second-tier person or like I'm being ranked. It just feels like a sorority situation, and I'm not doing that shit. I don't care if this means that I no longer have a relationship with the Tarte team, but I don't agree with how they're doing this. So the actual race is on Sunday the 7th. I was invited to come out from the 4th to the 6th. But initially in the email, it said something about being front row May 7th at the race. So once I realized my flights didn't align with the actual race, I asked them about it, and they said, oh, don't worry, you'll still get to see like the practice races and stuff. But I have some friends that are going on the trip, and I asked them when they were leaving, and they all said they were leaving Monday, and I was the only one leaving Saturday. So I just feel a little stupid. And I understand that my numbers are not like some of these other creators, but I just wish that there was more transparency up front. And I also, I have a screenshot of what was said at the beginning of our email thread, so I guess I misunderstood. But either way, I know that Cynthia had a similar experience, and I just don't like that this is happening to people who want to be a part of these Tarte trips. And personally, I don't get why, if they're going to do these trips, they don't just treat everyone the same. I have worked too hard to get to where I am today, and I will be damned as a Black creator if I accept anything other than equal treatment on these trips. And yes, Tarte can do whatever the fuck they want to do. Yes, they can. But I don't have to accept.
She also added in the caption, as grateful as I am to be invited on a Tarte trip, I was sad to realize my experience was going to be different than my friends that were also invited. I've been on many brand trips, and typically everyone is treated the same, so this caught me off guard, and I wish I had the heads up. Maureen, the founder of Tarte, ended up getting some comments on her TikTok wondering what the deal was with this, and she ended up replying to a few of them trying to explain the situation. Someone said, do you want to explain why your brand decided to shorten a Black creator's stay compared to everyone else on the trip? Maureen said, the whole event is 3 days, and to spread the love, we're hosting different groups each of the 3 days. I assure you that while creators are joining on different days, each will have an equal amount of events. Everyone will enjoy one day at the race, one dinner, and one nightclub experience. No one day will be treated differently than the other, and all 3 will be special. She ended up later making a whole video on her TikTok talking about the situation more.
I woke up pretty sad this morning, and I wanted to talk to you guys about a couple things. We've had our share of mistakes, and I definitely want to take responsibility for them. But sometimes miscommunications happen. You know, I see my team working so hard, and I just want to clear the air on a couple things. We have been hosting trips with creators for well over a decade, and the biggest thing to me, like the most important takeaway, is that They have fun. It's not about the actual post. Anyone that's been on a trip with me can definitely attest to that for sure. It's important. I want people to be happy. I want them to have a good time. It's just like in my nature. In my experience growing up in a house of 7 with a lot of siblings, I just love having a lot of people around. So, you know, when I go on vacations, I'm just very much like a more the merrier type of person. So when you're going on a trip in a house, not every room can be the same. And for me, I valued having, you know, more people there as opposed to just having just a few people, a handful of people, and having them just be in the big rooms and having the small rooms be empty. And this weekend, we're going to F1, and I wasn't thinking about what's going on at the track. I was just thinking, how can we get the most people to just have this fabulous experience? So we made a plan for everyone to have one day at the racetrack, one really nice dinner, and one really fun night at the club. So everybody was coming for the same amount of time, and I was really excited to hang out with so many, you know, really cool creators. And every day had a mix of big creators and up and coming creators, and nothing was decided based on the follower count. I mean, I wish I had the amount of followers that these creators had. And I thought we were gonna hang out at the VIP cabanas and really just enjoy that weekend. But it turns out that people really wanted to go to, you know, that Sunday race. It was important to them. And I realized that the things that were important to me are maybe not important to everybody else. So the team and I quickly adjusted. We got a ton of extra tickets, and so everybody can go to whichever day that they want. I'm all about lifting up others and making people feel good, so I couldn't imagine making someone feel sad or, you know, just like hurting someone's feelings. Even though I was feeling a little bummed, a lot of you sent me really nice messages. You guys are the freaking best. It's gonna be a great weekend, no hard feelings to anyone, and yeah, I love you guys.
And someone in the comments said, I think the miscommunication has come from Tarte inviting them to an F1 weekend and them not actually being at the race. It's like being invited to a concert but only having tickets to the warm-up act. Maureen said, it's my bad for not realizing that the Sunday race was most important. We split people up fairly and thought each day was great. Once we heard, we quickly adjusted. Another person said, there is only one race day. Taking her to just the practice versus the others at the actual race isn't fair or equal, lol. And Maureen said, we understand and respect her feelings. I called her, but she didn't call me back and hid our messages. We love her and would love to explain. Bria, like I mentioned, took her original TikTok down, and as of right now, her account seems to be gone. I don't know if she disabled it or what, because she was getting a lot of comments of people calling her ungrateful for not loving the opportunity that she was given, and that, you know, she made the video without really knowing the whole situation. So I don't know if she disabled her account because of all the hate that she was getting. I'm not really sure, but the whole thing just sounded like one big miscommunication. Tarte clearly thought that they were being fair with each person getting to go to one day of the event, but I think Bria thought that her friends were leaving on Monday and we're probably going to like all 3 days of Formula One. But Tarte is saying that is not the case. The trip is split into groups and each person is only going once. This is also a really big event that's super expensive all 3 days. You can buy tickets to the individual days, and the Friday and Saturday tickets are just as expensive as the Sunday. So there's obviously demand to go to the practice and the qualifier. It's not lame to go. It sucks that she felt less than in the situation though, and she certainly isn't the only one who has felt this way from Tarte, I will say that. Shadi Sin was on the Turks and Caicos trip, and I mentioned her in my video when I was talking about that trip. She opened up about the fact that the trip was split into 2 parts, which Tarte was calling season 1 and season 2. And some of the girls from season 1 did stay longer and got to be a part of the season 2 and hang out with those girls that came in. But Shadi Sin was not one of the girls that got to stay and extend her trip. She left after season 1 was over, and she actually opened up on TikTok about how she felt about that and the fact that some girls did get to stay and have a longer trip.
I only found out about season 2 when I was there on the brand trip, and it was so fun to even think about. We were trying to guess who was going to be on there, and I thought it was such a cool idea. I have personally never heard of any brand doing anything of this sort, and it was just so interesting to be a part of. However, one thing I would not lie about is how I thought it was weird that they kept a few people who were on season 1 to season 2. Again, made things feel like it was unequal, and it almost felt like a competition where people got disqualified and people got to stay. I personally think season 2 should have just been with a group of whole new girls. And I even thought it was a little fishy because some people only got invited last minute to stay for season 2. Would I have liked to stay? Of course, it's paradise. But did I think my time was done? Yes, and I did need to come back home. And I do have to say, Maureen, I applaud you for taking the criticism that you got on your last trip and making changes. She made products that are more inclusive, and she invited people on this brand trip to make it more diverse. However, I do feel like there always can be more done. I understand you have to invite people who you feel are valuable to your brand. However, I do believe you can 100% invite a lot more creators who can bring a lot to your community, like the indigenous community or the disabled community. And by you being one of the largest platforms who does one of the craziest brand trips, you can give them one of the spotlights to grow into becoming the bigger creators. One thing I will say is, if you felt like I'd done something wrong or want to have a conversation about it, I'm totally open to that. However, I will not tolerate disrespect. And I just want to emphasize, I am super grateful for the opportunities I get because of my community online and because of brands like Tarte. This would literally not be possible without you. All I ever ask for is to be treated with respect and equally as others who work just as hard as I do.
Two different groups entirely would have been way less drama for sure. I don't know why they did it like that, where they let some girls stay longer, how they chose, but it's just so interesting to hear about the behind the scenes of these trips. I will say that. She also opened up about having brought up the size of her room compared to other girls when she made her room tour video while on the trip, and wanted to talk more about how she felt about it and why she spoke up.
Just inviting me on this brand trip, so many people who look like me will feel like they can make it as well. I know this job, this trip, and the life I live is a privilege, but I've worked for it. And now to address the elephant in the room, was my room too small? Please just hear me out, because trust me, I literally hear how such a first world problem this sounds. This is the storyline. After I land, I go see my room. I'm super ecstatic. Everything is perfect. Like, I literally cannot believe I'm at Princess House. I can't believe the room I have. I can't believe all the free merch I've gotten. I'm over the moon and I'm super excited. However, the first night when I'm in bed editing, I come across the other girls' TikToks where they're showing their room tours. And this is when I feel some type of way. This may not make sense to a lot of you, but just please hear me out. I'm a brown minority creator in this influencer, content creator, TikTok era, and a lot of the times I get the short end of the stick. Whether it's getting paid less for the same advertisement or not getting paid at all. I 100% agree that that room is more than enough. I don't even have a bedroom myself that is the size of the room I got. However, I do believe I am worth what I am worth. I hope people will understand is it was never about the size of the room. It was just about getting treated equally to my counterparts / coworkers. And if you think there's something wrong with that, you have every right to call me out. I also want to explain how I did talk to the Tarte team, and they did explain to me how certain rooms were chosen for certain people and the other rooms were random.
And Maureen did address the room sizing in her TikTok that I showed you guys earlier, but maybe in the future they'll just do hotel rooms so no one feels left out. I don't really know. Now, another thing about these trips is something Brianna Chicken Fry talked about on her Plan Brie podcast. She was on the second half of the Tarte trip in Turks and Caicos, and she mentioned how she saw others like not really care for the presents that were left and activities on the itinerary compared to her.
Like, you'd wake up at 9:30 and there'd be yoga, and then there'd be
every day?
Yeah. So
did you participate?
I was the only one, the first one to everything.
Oh.
Okay, so you're giving me an island.
Yeah.
And I paid all expenses. I'm gonna show up to everything. Like,
Everything.
you put all of your hard work and money into this. I'm gonna show up, even though I'm the last one to go to bed and I'm wasted when I wake up. I'm gonna show up. Shoes, dresses, and then every day, like in between every day, you would get a knock on your door and there would be more presents dropped off.
It's delivery. Florida presents.
And me and Megan would obviously open her door. Presents. And then, like, we'd be walking around the rest of the villa and everyone's presents are still in front of their door. I'm like, are you guys crazy?
They are crazy.
And I'm sure. And, like, well, everyone else there is, like, super rich and, like, they live luxurious lifestyles. So obviously they're like, oh, I'm just used to this. But me and Megan, we're not used to it. So we're like, how are we going to bring all this stuff home?
The way I wouldn't even be sleeping, I'd be like soaking it all in just to try to savor every single second of it if I was invited to something like this. It's really sweet to see how excited Brie was about all the free gifts and be appreciative of the experience, despite her saying that her bathroom didn't work and that she was also in the basement of the house, but she was not complaining whatsoever. She just like was giving 100% like grateful to be there energy. But these trips certainly can be drama, and we're seeing how maybe Tarte needs to work on their communication and maybe just let everybody know how the trips are going to work for everyone and not just the one person's itinerary to avoid any surprises. But let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comments. I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye, guys.